My name is Marcin Szelag. I'm from Poland, from the National Museum in Poznań. I'm a head of Department of Education, and my presentation will be devoted to project which was organized by the Department of Education in my museum. Museum exhibitions are still the most important medium through which museums communicate with the audience. So if we have in mind the challenges that are facing museums today, challenges to curatorial practice, we should primarily focus on visitor participation in the creation of exhibition. My presentation will be devoted to these issues. In relation to a case study from the National Museum in Poznań, I would like to consider two questions. First, how the exhibition organized jointly with the audience was different from the exhibitions prepared by the professional staff of the museum. Second, how the participation of the audience, the teachers in this case, in the process of creating an exhibition was challenging to the dominant curatorial practice in the National Museum in Poznań. Before I undertake these issues, I will present the exhibition itself and its aims. What was the project about? The exhibition, the title, What Does Lace and Windmills Have in Common, the Low Countries, was established as a result of a participatory project. It was an educational project addressed to teachers. Those teachers work in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. The aim of the project was to create an exhibition dedicated to art and culture in the Low Countries. The assumption of the project was the preparation of an exhibition using the teaching experience of teachers invited to the project. Teachers fulfilled the role of curators. Their task consists, in fact, of tasks that are usually performed by professional museum curators when preparing an exhibition. They chose object for the exhibition and defined the topic in which the object were presented. They also determined an assumption required to arrange of the exhibition and made a special set of online teaching kits for viewers. These tasks were implemented in cooperation with the staff of the museum, educators and curators of the various collections of objects which were selected for the exhibition. In the typology of participatory projects, according to Nina Simon, this project was the closest to the so-called co-creative participatory project. The exhibition occupied two rooms. The first, which was a prologue, alluded to the idea of travel agency. Here, there were presented primary posters advertising the tourist attraction of Belgium and the Netherlands. The main part of the exhibition was located in the historic hall of the museum. It consists of 5 thematic parts. Its center referred to the interior space of a dwelling house. This central part was devoted to home life, ways of decorating and furnishing homes, social roles within a bourgeois household. Here, in particular, the position of women in the private space of the house was emphasized. From the central interior of the house, transitions led to the 4 remaining parts of the exhibition, related to the public dimension of religion, morality, economy, and geography of the Low Countries. The arrangement evoked, on the one side, the interior of church, by the pew, and an inn, just bench. And on the other side, it evoked the atmosphere of a harbor and open space of a landscape. What differed this exhibition from other exhibitions prepared by the National Museum in Poznań? Compared to other museum exhibitions, the differences concern three main issues. First, subject matter as well as the chronological and geographical range of the exhibition. Second, bringing interactivity into the area of presentation and communication, which broadened the viewer's experience. And the last, change in thinking about the main purpose of the exhibition. I will explain what this difference meant in practice. Professional curators at the National Museum in Poznań usually take great care to make an exhibition coherent, related to a particular kind of art, event, and problem. Generally, artifacts are arranged chronologically. Objects from different historical periods are separated from each other. When the exhibition is devoted to the works of a particular geographical area, art, school, or nation, artifacts are set in the context of those areas, schools, and nations. This is a typical traditional way of presentation according to the nationality of the art, a particular school or a nation, artist or times. This method has been practiced in the museum for many decades. It is characteristic both for permanent and changing exhibitions organized at the National Museum in Poznań. Those exhibitions fulfill what George Hein called a systematic museum. It assumes that this mode of presentation reveals the true nature of presented issues. The exhibition, What Does Lace and Windmills Have in Common?, presented objects from different historical periods, from the 17th to 20th century, countries and continents, Belgium, the Netherlands, Poland, Germany, Europe, Africa, often placing them next to each other. What is more, the original objects from the museum's collection were placed together with props and solutions, which were often interactive. The interactivity was another element that distinguished this exhibition from previous exhibitions held at the museum. In presenting their collection, no matter what type of objects, paintings, sculptures, historical, military, ethnographic artifacts, or musical instruments, museum curators present them in a way that refers only to the sense of sight. They do not offer opportunities to get to know or interpret them differently beyond the experience of looking. Professional curators primarily emphasize the aesthetic values of the presented objects. Museum curators usually do not see the benefits of the more diversified presentation, the introduction of interactivity, involvement of other senses, such as smell, taste, touch, hearing. At the National Museum in Poznań, there is a strong belief that the main mission of the exhibition is to create the possibility for an individual contemplation of a single object. At the museum, at the exhibition, What Does Lace and Windmills Have in Common? Interactivity and activities that all allow for the involvement of other senses than just sight were constantly present. They functioned not only as a supplement to the consistent, aesthetically oriented show, but they constitute an integral part of it. Interactivities and similar solutions allowed to actively explore the exhibition. They create an opportunity for visitors to express their thoughts, experience, and opinions. Props that visitors could smell, touch, and try on were an integral part of the exhibitions. This is one example. Exhibition arrangement. Their presence was associated with the belief that there are other ways of experiencing presented objects, including art, than only by looking at them. And the last difference, changing in thinking about the main purpose of the exhibition, meant that the exhibition was focused on the visitors. What did exactly mean in practice? Professional curators at the National Museum in Poznań, when preparing an exhibition, never consult the content and appearance of the exhibition with the potential visitors. They also do not take into account their perspective of understanding objects and themes. Usually, the process of exhibition production does not include a concrete picture of the users. It assumed that the exhibition is for all. But as Ilian Hooper-Greenhill has noticed, this is a false assumption. Although visitors have always theoretically been part of the process of exhibition construction, the part played has been rhetorical and abstract, and the visitors themselves have remained mythical. The exhibition organized by teachers came from a completely different assumption. In this case, in advance, they had determined that the main recipients were other teachers and students. Therefore, the selection of topics, the way of communicating content, and the interpretation took into account the pedagogical experience of teachers. The knowledge of the ways in which students gain information, what they are interested in, how to customize the presented content to the age of the students, have identified the thematic scope and selection of objects on display according to a curriculum. Also very important was the knowledge about what other teachers expect from visiting a museum with their students, from classes and workshops organized by the museum. This was the starting point to prepare a manual for teachers, which was used by them in the course of visiting the exhibition. The knowledge and experience of teaching helped to create the content of the advanced exhibition concept. The education was integrally inscribed into the objectives of the project and relate to the experience of a real, not mythical viewer. Of course, all of these solutions are not new or unique. They seem to be even slightly anachronistic. In Poland, however, especially in the National Museum in Poznań, they have become something special. Teachers as curators have participated in an exhibition which has become a challenge for the curatorial practice of the museum. For such assumption as the paradigm of the individual authorship, paradigm of transferring knowledge to the public, and the habit of organizing exhibitions without the participation of the potential recipients. Instead, the exhibition was created by a team, based on the experience of the team members and relate on the exchange of knowledge between the museum staff and members of the community. Teachers were not burdened with tradition and convention of presenting art in the museum space, and joined the realization of the exhibition more courageously. Above all, they allowed themselves for juxtaposition which are difficult for curators. Those latter, for example, emphasize the value of individual work of art through autonomic settings, do not present them in conjunction with furniture, ceramics, metals, and other objects of applied art. They also do not allow for any intervention in the exhibition space in the form of solution which would extend the range of experience offered to the viewers. Interactivity, engaging more of the senses, hearing, smell, touching, practically are not present in the usual exhibition organized by the museum. Teachers were not limited by conventions and easily applied this kind of solutions. For them, what was important was how new solutions will engage students for whom the exhibition was prepared. How the exposition can broaden the scope of students' experience, how it can affect their interest in the topic presented. All these challenges for the everyday curatorial practice in the museum were the result of the convention of the social role of the museum. A museum in which the recipient of the institution should not only be the receiver, but also the creator. The process of creating the exhibition, apart from changing attitudes to the nature of knowledge and ways of learning, also created challenges for the traditional methods of museum communication. Traditional transmission from the institution towards the viewer has been replaced by an exchange of knowledge. The challenge was a result of challenges were a result of the engagement of people from outside of the museum, which were not professional curators. The exhibition, what does Lace in Windmill have in common, is an exception in the curatorial practice of the National Museum in Poznań. It creates the possibility of an inner reflection within the museum on the methods and goals of exhibition organized by the museum. In the future, it may initiate exhibitions that in a large degree will be oriented towards specific groups of communities, not only teachers and students. Specific groups require specific strategies of communication and interpretation adequate for their learning styles and life experience. This is not to say that all exhibitions should be participatory projects, but that the exhibition scenery, guidelines, methods of realization should be as broad as possible. This is how I understand the challenges that stand ahead of contemporary curatorial practice in my museum, of course. The implementation of a community museum as its future. Thank you.